Access.
Access. To open a computer file or use a computer system. For example, most people use their phones to access the internet.
Advertising. The activity and industry of advertising things to people on television, in newspapers, on the internet, etc. For example, cigarette advertising has been banned. App. A piece of software that you can download to a device such as a smartphone or tablet, for example to look up information or to play a game. For example, you first need to install the app on your device.
Article.
Article. A piece of writing about a particular subject in a newspaper or magazine, on a website, etc. For example, to read/write/publish an article.
Artificial.
Artificial. Made or produced to copy something natural, not real. For example, an artificial limb/flour/sweetener/fertilizer.
Blog. A website where an individual person, or people representing an organization, write regularly about recent events or topics that interest them, usually with photos and links to other websites that they find interesting. For example, this is a link to the museum's blog.
Browser. A computer program that lets you look at or read documents on the World Wide Web. For example, what do you use as your default browser?
Camera.
Camera. A piece of equipment for taking photographs, moving pictures, or television pictures. It can be a separate item or part of another device. For example, just point the camera and press the button.
CD. A small disc on which sound or information is recorded. CDs can be played or read on various types of machines, including CD players and computers. The abbreviation for a compact disc? For example, on CD. Click. The act of pressing the button on a computer mouse or touchpad. For example, a mouse click. Click. The act of pressing the button on a computer mouse or touchpad. For example, a mouse click.
Clock. An instrument for measuring and showing time, in a room, on the wall of a building or on a computer screen, not worn or carried like a watch. For example, the clock struck 12/midnight.
Column. One of the straight sections from top to bottom into which text on a page or screen is divided. For example, a dictionary with 2 columns per page.
Commercial.
Commercial. An advertisement on television, on the radio, or on a website. For example, a TV/television commercial.
Computer.
Computer. An electronic machine that can store, organize, and find information, do processes with numbers and other data, and control other machines. For example, a home computer.
Contributor. A person who writes articles for a magazine, book, or website, or who talks on a radio or television program or at a meeting. For example, a regular contributor to this magazine.
Database.
Database. An organized set of data that is stored in a computer and can be looked at and used in various ways. For example, the database is updated monthly.
Default.
Default. What happens or appears if you do not make any other choice or change, especially in a computer program? For example, the default is 50 lines.
Delete.
Delete. To remove something that has been written or printed, or that has been stored on a computer. For example, your name has been deleted from the list.
Desktop. A screen on a computer that shows the icons of programs and files that can be used. For example, desktop icons.
Digital.
Digital. Using a system of receiving and sending information as a series of the numbers 1 and 0, showing that an electronic signal is there or is not there. For example, a digital camera.
Document.
Document. To record something in the form of a written document, photograph, film, etc. For example, urban life in the 19th century is well documented.
Documentary. A film or a radio or television program giving facts about something. For example, there were some interesting interviews in the documentary.
Download.
Download. Data that is downloaded from another computer system. For example, a staggering 99.8% of digital music downloads are to mobile handsets.
Download.
Download. Data that is downloaded from another computer system. For example, a staggering 99.8% of digital music downloads are to mobile handsets.
DVD. A disc on which large amounts of information, especially films, photographs and video, can be stored, for use on a DVD player or computer, the abbreviation for digital versatile disc or digital video disc. For example, let's just stay in and watch a DVD.
Electronics.
Electronics. The branch of science and technology that studies electric currents in electronic equipment. For example, the electronics industry.
Email.
Email. A way of sending messages and data to other people by means of computers connected together in a network. For example, I will be on vacation for a week in November.
Film. A series of moving pictures recorded with sound that tells a story, watched at a cinema, or on a television or other device. For example, let's stay in and watch a film.
Filter. A device containing paper, sand, chemicals, etc. that a liquid or gas is passed through in order to remove any materials that are not wanted. For example, an air/oil filter. Filter. A device containing paper, sand, chemicals, etc. that a liquid or gas is passed through in order to remove any materials that are not wanted. For example, an air/oil filter.
Graphic. Connected with drawings and design, especially in the production of books, magazines, websites, etc. For example, graphic design.
Graphics. Designs, drawings or pictures that are used especially in the production of books, magazines, websites, etc. For example, text and graphics are prepared separately and then combined.
Hardware. The machines and electronic parts in a computer or other electronic system. For example, we supply computer hardware to businesses.
Icon. A small symbol on a computer or smartphone screen that represents a program or a file. For example, click on the printer icon with a mouse.
Interactive. That allows information to be passed continuously and in both directions between a computer or other device and the person who uses it. For example, interactive displays video.
Interface. The way a computer program presents information to a user or receives information from a user, in particular the layout of the screen and the menus. For example, the user interface.
Internet.
Internet. An international computer network connecting other networks and computers that allows people to share information around the world. For example, to surf, browse, access the internet.
IT. The study and use of electronic processes and equipment to store and send information of all kinds, including words, pictures, and numbers, the abbreviation for information technology. For example, the increasing use of IT in all aspects of today's society.
Key. To put information into a computer using a keyboard. For example, key something.
Lamp. A device that uses electricity, oil or gas to produce light. For example, a desk, a bedside lamp.
Laser. A device that gives out light in which all the waves oscillate, equals change direction and strength, together, typically producing a powerful beam of light that can be used for cutting metal, in medical operations, etc. For example, a laser beam.
Layout. The way in which the parts of something such as the page of a book, a website, a garden, or a building are arranged. For example, the layout of streets. Link. To make a physical or electronic connection between one object, machine, place, etc. and another. For example, link A to B.
Media.
Media. The main ways that large numbers of people receive information and entertainment, that is television, radio, newspapers, and the internet. For example, the national or international media.
Monitor.
Monitor. A screen that shows information from a computer. A television screen used to show particular kinds of information. For example, the details of today's flights are displayed on the monitor.
Online.
Online. Available on or done using the internet or other computer network. For example, online shopping is both cheap and convenient.
Online.
Online. Available on or done using the internet or other computer network. For example, online shopping is both cheap and convenient.
Pond. A small area of still water, especially one that is artificial. For example, a fish pond.
Printer.
Printer. A machine for printing text on paper, especially one connected to a computer. For example, a color printer.
Program. A set of instructions in code that control the operations or functions of a computer. For example, you'll need to download and install the program on your computer. Program. A set of instructions in code that control the operations or functions of a computer. For example, you'll need to download and install the program on your computer.
Program.
Program. Something that people watch on television or listen to on the radio. For example, a news program.
Programming.
Programming. The process of writing and testing computer programs. For example, programming languages.
Receipt.
Receipt. A piece of paper or an electronic document that shows that goods or services have been paid for. For example, can I have a receipt?
Record.
Record. To keep a permanent account of facts or events by writing them down, filming them, storing them in a computer, etc. For example, record something.
Recording.
Recording. Sound or pictures that have been recorded on computer files or on CD, DVD, video, etc. For example, an audio recording.
Recount.
Recount. Sound or pictures that have been recorded on computer files or on CD, DVD, video, etc. For example, an audio recording.
Robot.
Robot. A machine that can perform a complicated series of tasks by itself. For example, these cars are built by robots.
Satellite. An electronic device that is sent into space and moves around the Earth or another planet. It is used for communicating by radio, television, etc., and for gathering information. For example, a weather communications spy satellite.